everyone. Coming from the Hello, can you hear me well? Hello, hello, hello. My name is Klaus. I don't know all of you. I mean, I know your work, I know your names, and I'm happy to see some faces. Welcome. I'm gonna briefly introduce the panel. Hold on. We have to just for 30 seconds. I'll introduce and then. So, Ragna, I'm gonna briefly introduce the day, and then I'll let you start the moderation. Okay?
Okay, so I shouldn't mention that's the third conference and so on and so on.
No, I mean you will see what I'm gonna say. I mean, you see the slide that I have here, which is the program for today. I will briefly introduce that. I'm not gonna go in all the details. I'm not gonna introduce your participants. I'll let you do that. But yeah, and then you will be here just for the mechanics of the chat. Owen is here, and he will be the one sending you the questions right now. We've received, as you know, most of the people are connected on YouTube, and we conference on photography and education, blurring the lines. For this year, the topic is ethical shifts in photography. And for the second day, we're happy to welcome participants, finalists, winners, and some of the special mentions from this year's edition for this panel discussion. So today, as you can see in the program, we have 4 different panels, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Those panels will be moderated by previous talents of Blurring the Lines. So I welcome Ragna Arndt-Maric, who's going to be doing the first panel on the ethical range in photography. Welcome, Ragna, and welcome to all of you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And welcome once again from my side to the third conference on photography in education, a project in collaboration with the European Cultural Center, Blurring the Lines, Urbanatica, and Paris College of Art. My name is Ragna Arndt-Maric, and as it was already mentioned, I was with my bachelor thesis for rising among the 3 winners of the Blurring the Lines Award 2020. Currently, I'm working on my master's project at the Bielefeld University of Applied Sciences. Today, I'm very pleased to be the moderator of this panel discussion on the subject of ethical shifts in photography. And first, I would like to ask the participants to introduce themselves briefly. Maybe you could start, Isha?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Isha Gahlot. I'm a student of National Institute of Design, Gandhinagar, and I was pursuing photography design there.
Lina?
Hi, I'm Lina van Hulle. I recently graduated in my master's in photography at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, Belgium.
And So-Jung?
Hi everyone, my name is So-Jung Yoon, and I go to Seoul Institute of the Arts, and I live in Seoul, Korea. Thanks.
Thank you. And Anna, finally.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Gajewszky, and I'm from Hungary, Moholy-Nagy University of Arts and Design. And I just finished my bachelor's in photography.
Yeah, thank you so much for the brief introduction. And the topic, ethical shifts in photography, is an important and a complex topic. So, of course, we have to talk about digitization in this context. And you all belong to a generation who was born and raised in the information age. So I would like to know your experiences and maybe how it also has your perspective has or maybe also changed as a result of your training as a photographer. Would you like to start, Anna?
Yes, okay. I try. I'm not sure if I understood right, but what it came to mind is that I had a childhood without any digitalization, and it's a really rare childhood. I mean, I can't really name a lot of friends of mine who had the same. We didn't have television or phones or anything. I was in the cinema at the age 12 at first. That's when I saw a screen. So for me, I was really, for a long time, I was really manipulated by digital media. And I realized how it's a huge power to use visual media to manipulate people. And for me, it was a long journey to realize that what I do in my work and what I share with the public, that's actually, I have a responsibility. I mean, I don't think I can share anything that I do because you know, most people can't read images. That in my opinion, they don't teach us that, like we read text or we read a book or we learn how to write. So for me, this whole digitalization it was a long journey to learn how to use Instagram and how to use Facebook. I mean, you know, at the beginning, I wrote everything for my life, and now I feel I regret it to put everything out there. And so it's been a long journey, but I'm much better with it now. And with photography, yeah, in my personal work, I really pay attention now today what I share from my work, and I don't share all photos that I do because for some ethical reasons, for example. Yeah.
Would you like to continue, Isha?
Can I pass this question?
I just wanted to know from you, how was your experience to grow up in the information age? Because I think it was my impression that most of you got very used to digitization and the flood of images and the feeling of being able to be online all the time. So it was just, for me, interesting to know how does your perspective is this generation, and maybe how has been changed by your education as a photographer.
So I've personally seen the whole digitization I'm from a generation who've seen it. Like my parents used to use Kodak, and when I first touched a camera, it was a digital camera. So as an artist, to make imagery, it was always the digital world which I was looking at or I was interacting with. And initially, we're just told that, all the image manipulation, they're just supposed to be there. All the the images need to have filter over it. And gradually with the whole education and learning about how, like Anna said, how are we reading images? Gradually, once we're sensitized towards those things, I've kept myself slightly more away from that feeling of like not always having to edit or manipulate your imagery. I mean, as far as media consumption is concerned, I've never really known a life which does not have media consumption. So I can't really talk about not being bombarded, what not being bombarded feels like. That is, it's always been there.
Yeah, that's right. And did your training as a photographer change your perspective a little bit? That you got into it because you all mentioned now that it might be useful and needful to educate children to read images like the alphabet, for example, and to get an impression of what is an information or what is a disinformation. So that is a really interesting point, I think. So we figured already out, but maybe you could talk about your education as well a little bit, and maybe you change a little bit, or you are, I don't know.
Yeah, well, totally. I mean, misinformation and information, reading imagery. I mean, we can talk about how photography as an art form itself, we talk about it, we see it as a truthful art form than others because the representations are more realistic to us. And therefore, it becomes way more important for us to start sensitizing ourselves and people around us to read images in a way so that we can put the truth aside and the perspective of image aside.
Yeah, thank you very much. And what is your opinion, Lina?
Hi, yeah. So if we talk about digitization, I feel that, so for me, for example, it was a very long time quite something I was working against too. Like I didn't really want to admit that I was a child of like the digital age and social media, and you kind of yeah, of course, in 2011, when it all started, we all were very excited about it, and then it turned into this really ugly thing. We kind of realized the harm that online images could bring, or you hear it now even more that social media or images on social media can be really harmful, or sharing images and etc. But I have the feeling that there is this change that, I'm not really talking about digital photography. I'm more into like photography digital, like online. But I feel that in this, like, I feel it around me that people are becoming way more sensitive to it, or critical towards that. They filter a lot of information that they see on an image online. I think we were all, or like, for example, just my circle, I guess. I grew up obsessed with memes and with just gossip magazines, as I had written down before. But and I kind of trained myself to filter a lot of information, or trained myself to become very critical of what I'm seeing, and if it's true, if it's not. And I have the feeling that people who grew up with social media are trained to do this. We learn from our mistake, I have this feeling. And then you can also see it when, for example, we see photographs in newspapers or just on the news itself, then you kind of feel this online community becoming very critical about it. So people are very outspoken about ethics in photography, let's say, if we're talking about ethical shifts in photography. Well, at least that's my opinion. I have the feeling that people are becoming just very sensitive towards uncensorship, let's say, in photography. And what they see in an image can cause a lot of stir online, or just in general. And I think it's a good thing, because I mean, I can totally agree that people need to learn how to read images, and need to learn how to read something in an image. But I have the feeling that it's something that you have to train, and that you have to get kind of used to, and that it has to come also from the digitization to learn or to teach people that, like, hey, what you see is not, like, it's not always real, or it's not always important, let's say.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, photography is often associated with the concept of authenticity. And I think you, and also the work of So-Jung, is also, both are working with the methods of image manipulation, I could say it in this way, maybe. And I mean, although we know that images lie, we would like to believe that they give us an almost authentic representation of a subject. Maybe you could add something to this.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I thought, although we know that images lie, we would like to believe that they give us an almost authentic representation of a subject. That means this game with the authenticity. I'm sorry. So, and your work is related to this topic, I think, so, as well as the series of So-Jung. And it would be great if you could contribute something to this topic.
Yeah. So for me, the image manipulation kind of formed itself. It was never something I was very attracted to, let's say, to the art of image manipulation. I just kind of rolled into it because my work was very based on science fiction, and I had the feeling once working on it that I couldn't create what I wanted to create just as an object, for example, or I just knew that I had to have another skill to tell what I wanted to say, which of course is kind of disturbing that I can make something and make people believe that it's a real thing. But for me, it was a very interesting way of storytelling, because I can kind of knead like people's minds into this direction of my story just by faking it, let's say. And also it was just, it was also, I also used image manipulation as a sort of creative outlet, let's say. I don't know if I can explain, but yeah, of course, authenticity is always very important. And for me, it was also important to keep some parts of my images real. So the people or the location or the light or whatever, like keep that part real, but just change one thing so it becomes this kind of like uncanny thing. I'm always very aware of not overdoing it, to make it still look a bit real, and in that way make people feel a bit uncomfortable because they kind of know it's not real, but they're not sure. And I think that's a really interesting line to work between.
Yeah, thank you so much. I didn't want to miss you out, So-Jung. I'm sorry. Maybe you could now contribute your opinion.
저는 이제 처음에 포토샵 쪽에 관심을 가졌었던 게 이제 광고 수업을 들었을 때였는데.
So the first time I got interested in the art of Photoshop is I took a class in advertising.
이제 거기서 카드 광고를 그림자를 이제 만들고 없는 배경을 이제 만들고 하는 그런 모습을 보고.
So we had to make a card using a bunch of shadows and images that aren't supposed to be there.
이제 새로운 공간도 이제 포토샵을 사진을 통해서 만들 수 있겠구나라고 생각을 해서 그때부터 포토샵 공부를 열심히 했던 것 같아요.
So I started to think maybe I'd be able to make a brand new location or area through Photoshop. And that's how I first became interested in it.
그래서 지금 제가 하고 있는 작업도 일상 속에 있는 공간들을 이용해서 그 공간을 지우고 이제 다시 재배치하고 이래서 새로운 좀 낯선 공간을 만들어내는 그런 작업인데.
So the projects I'm currently working on are taking places in real life and then fixing and moving things around and adding new places to make a completely different location.
이제 그러면서 저는 좀 더 딱 사실적이지 않고 뭔가 그 안에 더 뭔가 있는 듯한, 이 안에 더 다른 세계가 있는 것 같은 그런 상상력을 자극할 수 있는 작업을 진행하고 싶어서.
And that was because I wanted to show in my pictures that not everything was realistic, and then inside the pictures there might be another world that we might not know about.
그래서 안 좋은 지점만 있는 건 아닌 것 같고, 예술적으로 보면 사진을 조작하거나 이런 것도 뭔가 좋은 지점이 있는 것 같다.
So I think in photo manipulation, regarding ethics, I don't think that everything is bad. In this way of photo manipulation, we can describe and allow ourselves to express what we wanted to share.
네.
Yes, and that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much for this interesting insight. And yeah, you all mentioned the legibility of images already, and also the sharing of images. And maybe we could go further on in this topic, because I think it's also a big change that we are now able to share our images worldwide, and the perception of the images are also not any longer under our control. I mean, it was never totally under our control, but it's a different think if you present your images in an exhibition and you have the possibility to talk to other people who are coming to see your work, or if you have enemies in the World Wide Web, I think so. And I could guess that every one of you has already made experiences with it. And so I would be very interested to hear from you, maybe, Anna. What's your experience with it, to share pictures, because your work was also about a very personal subject, for instance. And so it would be quite interesting to hear from you, I think, and from the others as well, but maybe you could start.
Yes, of course. So my work is the work that's in here. I mean, in this During the Lies edition is a series about myself, and there are some self-portraits on which I'm naked, but they are manipulated. I mean, they are manually. I draw onto them and I make collages, but the main picture is of me in every photo, and it's about accepting womanhood and accepting our body, and really trying to reach for that ideal womanhood that we're dreaming of. And so when I made these photos, I didn't really think much about, okay, I mean, I don't really care if they see me naked. I mean, it's an artwork. I mean, people gonna look at it as an artwork. And then I shared it, and I got like so many feedbacks that were so different. I mean, from the how brave I am to how stupid I am, really, to share this work, and that made me think, okay, how is this? Because I truly believe that this is an important topic to talk about today, that there are a lot of women still struggling to accept their body, and there are a lot of women who have a lot of problems with hormonal imbalances, for example. That's the core of my work, and they can't. They're trying to have a baby for years, and it's just not happening. And I think it's a topic that we don't talk about enough. So I truly believe that it's important to talk about, and it's important to trigger people to look at the images and actually face that it's still here. I mean, women still struggle to accept their body. And on one side, I think it's amazing that a woman can make a series about herself, and it can win awards. But on the other side, I see now how dangerous that can be, because I realized that these photos can be seen in a way that I would never wanted them to be seen. And I didn't have experiences with it, but Instagram blocked me when I shared some of these photos for a week, and that was really shocking for me. So yeah, today I don't regret it. I think that so many people came and talked to me about this work, that they have the same problem, or they just felt really touched, and I think that means way more to me than. People were talking about it, and we were having conversation, and it was a really, really nice experience. So it's really hard, because I'm sure that these photos can or will or already have been used in a way that I've never wanted them to be. I don't know. I really don't know what's the solution to this. I think about it a lot, because my next project that I usually work with personal stories and my family, and I really push them to the side of intimacy, even my family members. And now I'm getting ready to my next work, and I'm thinking about it a lot. So I want to hear the other's opinion, because I don't know what's the solution for this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what are you thinking, Isha?
Well, that was thank you for sharing your experiences. That was very overwhelming. About your question, it's a difficult question in itself, because once you've made the image, your intentions of making the image do reflect upon it, but it is up to the spectator to decide of what they gather from it or what they experience from it. And a lot of times I cannot expect my audience to be the exact reader of what I'm trying to say. And in exhibitions, or let's say a space where I'm present and I can talk to my audience face to face, or there is an open channel of communication, it is still much easier to talk about the image, or to talk about my intentions or my aesthetic choices of building the image. But when I've just put it on the internet, and when I've let it have its life of its own, then it is not under my control. It's a free bird. I have let it fly away.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about art, that we don't have to control the perception of other people. That everyone is free to think and feel what he wants to feel and think about a piece of art. But I think, if you're sharing your images via social media, you don't have the possibility to talk to people directly and to get in a dialogue. And I don't know, maybe some of you have already experienced with kind of shitstorms or something like this, or this anonymous complaining about something. And I mean, that's a really important and difficult issue, I think so. In the process of digitization and social media channels. So maybe someone of you can contribute something to this. I don't know.
If I can add something. Well, I think, of course, social media, it's a difficult topic, you know. There's a lot of, definitely when you link it to art, it's not taken very seriously, I feel. For example, Instagram, the main goal is sharing images. So as a photographer does share images, Instagram also is this kind of platform. But I do feel that, for example, social media or just the internet can kind of serve as a gallery or a museum. Like, you can really treat it like something valuable. For example, if you share your work on Instagram, there's gonna be like maybe some reaction, but it doesn't always have to be bad. I mean, you can have a worse reaction live in a gallery, let's say. For example, Anna, if we talk about, for example, if I go back to your work of images of a naked woman, I can imagine that in some countries, in some cities, live in a gallery, this could also cause a stir. Of course, online, it's always easier because people are always going to be behind the screen, so it doesn't feel as bad for them. But I see the beauty in sharing online, because it's a free platform, and it's a free it's free for you to curate. You can delete all your images and then start all over again, and I think that's very interesting, and it's very creative as well. And I don't know, it's just I think what we've learned, for example, from 2020, without using the C word, is that just the digital age can really, really benefit the art world or photography, let's say. And I think this is something that, for me personally, I would love to explore more, like the possibilities of sharing my work online and having this community surrounding it, and getting feedback from it, because it also goes worldwide. You know, you can share your share your opinions from all around the world.
I would like to add to this. I mean, when in a hypothetical situation, when there is a shitstorm in a gallery, there is accountability coming from the audience, at least the person who's there and actively being a critic. He says it without the safety net of digital age. So that accountability, which goes for a toss when people are critiquing your work online, is something I find myself a little skeptical about, probably because not just critiquing, but also commenting or liking, because that accountability which comes from an audience which is first hand with you is something else. Probably I'm just taking the conversation away from the topic right now.
No, that's really great. If someone like to react to this answer, it would be nice. I mean, we should interactively talking to each other. So do you like to add something, So-Jung?
저는 이분 얘기 맨 처음 들었을 때 인스타그램에서 그런 자신의 누드 사진을 올렸을 때 블락했다는 거 보고 처음에 들었던 생각이 많은 예술가들이 그런.
So when I first heard of Miss Anna and how she uploaded her nude photos on Instagram and got blocked, my first thought was
이제 남자 모델이나 남성의 누드 같은 경우에는 그대로 이제 상반신 같은 경우는 그대로 나와도 딱히 제지되는 경우는 없는데.
When it's a male model posing for nude or those type of photos, there isn't many restrictions.
근데 이제 제가 팔로우하고 있는 이제 작가들 중에서도 누드를 찍으신 이제 여자분들 같은 경우는 그 부위를 완전 가리고 한다거나 아니면 블러 처리를 해서 뭔가 작품적으로 떨어지게 되는, 작품성이 떨어지는 그런 느낌을 받아서 그게 좀.
And on Instagram, I follow a couple of photographers, and when they upload photos of nude females, they always have to censor or block some parts, and I feel like that brings down the quality of the art itself.
그게 좀 뭔가 아쉽다고 인스타그램에서 그런 사진을 올렸을 때 아쉬운 점이라고 생각된다.
And I feel a little disappointed in that part of aspect when we upload on Instagram.
네.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I do you hear me? Because my internet just went away. Okay. So I have so this is the one bad experience that I had with social media. But I think this is the only one. I mean, people unfollowed me, some people, but I don't really care because, you know, I only follow people who I'm interested in. I mean, I unfollow people who don't interest me anymore. So some people unfollowed me after this post, but there were so many people people I didn't know who wrote like these long messages to me. And there was a really positive feedback on Instagram. And so that's why I said at the beginning that I didn't regret it at all. So I feel really true to this work. And it was exhibited in Budapest, and it was in a group exhibition, but it was, so I think for me, it's way more important that it makes a conversation between people or between me and people, even on the online platform. But of course, on the other hand, I am worried. I mean, not worried, but I do think about it, how to continue. And because you just hear these stories. I mean, I have a contemporary dance friend. She dances naked in some pieces, and she talks a lot about where her art is found in some web pages, you know, where you never wanted your art to be found. So yeah, but altogether, I have way more positive than negative experiences with online media.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, we have just time to figure out a few perspectives of this big topic, ethical shifts in photography today. But maybe coming to the end, maybe you could contribute your requests and concerns on this subject. such a few notes to let the others know what do you think briefly.
Oh, you mean me?
Concerning the future of ethical shifts in photography in general. Yeah, maybe if you like to start, it's great.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm really concerned because I see that, I mean, not everywhere, but here, you know, I'm from Eastern Europe. In Romania and in Hungary, people are not aware of what they see. They do not think. I mean, they either like it or don't like it. There's no thinking. There's no thinking at all. I mean, no. They either accept it or push it away. That's the two way it goes. And there are only a few people who think about it, and that really, really concerns me because you know, we accept photos that really manipulate us or manipulate our opinion or our behave towards other people. And in Hungary, that's, I mean, I'm sure you have heard about the you know, the political situation here. They use this every day, and it's really frustrating, and it makes me really angry. So but I do see something is coming, because I believe that the first step is to educate the children, like from the, you know, very early age, to learn how to read images, because then maybe they can, you know, they would think about what they see. And I see some good examples. I mean, I see that there are more and more teachers are concerned about this, and there are more and more teachers who bring not digital images, but they start with printed out photos or paintings, and children here now actually have classes to learn how to read them. So that makes me happy. I mean, I think that could be a way to go. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can imagine that somewhere more on the other side of the world, it's better. But here we don't think about images, and it's really, I mean, you know, you don't need to read a lot about Hungary or Romania to see our political, you know. So it's not good, and so I think the way to go is to educate people, like really seriously, and every day how to read images. Yeah, I think that's what I think.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anna. And what is your opinion, Isha?
Well, I agree with Anna when she talks about the possibility of truth existing beyond an image, and people understanding that there's difference between what they see and what is there, and how image can be like this how reality can be this wide canvas, and images are just like one little pixel of it. So that is one. Then when I'm to refer back to your question, which is what is my concern about ethical shifts in photography, another concern which I have is representation of communities within this conversation of existence of truth, as in how is the subject and how is the gaze like? What is the subject? What is the object? How, as a photographer, you're looking and representing people who you're photographing, not as art, but I'm talking in terms of journalism, and how as photographers we must be more sensitive towards, or as audiences how we must think about such issues. And then another concern, the third one, which I would like to say, is the matter of ownership, or acknowledging where are we borrowing the ideas from, or how are we representing those ideas, and are we really referring back to them or not, or are we really acknowledging their existence when we are presenting our work?
Yeah, thank you as well. And So-Jung, just a few notes about your future requests or concerns on the subject of ethical shifts in photography.
질문이 뭐였죠?
이제 이거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지 그 윤리성에서 여튼 사진이 뭐 미래든 그냥 지금의 윤리성에 대해서는
그 생각했던 게 이제 인스타그램이나 그런 핀터레스트 같은 걸 보면서 좀 사진적으로 아이디어를 얻고 괜찮은 사진 있으면 저장하거나 이런 식으로 많이 하잖아요.
So what I first thought about when I was thinking about the ethical properties is there's a lot of people who would go through Instagram or Pinterest and they would see a photo they like and save it.
그러면서 이제 자기도 모르게 그 다른 사람의 작품이 마음에 들었으니까 그거를 좀 모방하거나 베끼는 그런 게 요새는 좀 사진뿐만 아니라 여러 분야에서 좀 늘어나는 것 같다고 생각이 들어서.
So a lot of people, without even realizing it's their intentions, they tend to take from or just accidentally bring a lot of inspiration from other people's works, regardless of photography, just in a lot of broad spectrums.
그런 부분에서 뭔가 미래로 더 나중에 되면은 그런 게 더 쉬워지니까 좀 고민을 해봐야 되지 않을까라고 생각을 하고 있다.
And I feel like as we go more and more into the future, it'll be a lot more easier for people to be able to just very easily plagiarize or take a lot of the same exact photos. And that is something that I'm very concerned about.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we have to finish now. Maybe if you just have one word or two. I'm sorry, Lina. It's it's going too fast for us. It's really a pleasure to talk to you, but we have to finish. Maybe just a short note.
Yeah, I just completely align with Anna, and I would just say that people should be taught the power of photography and learn how to communicate with it or read it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important message. I thank you all for this really enlightening discussion and the pleasure to have you here. So I hope we will meet soon, not via Zoom, maybe in reality. And I wish you all the best for your further work, for your life. And it was a great pleasure. Yeah, and enjoy the discussions. So thank you very much. And I hope that Klaus maybe could take over now. There are no questions in my chat. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Oh, I can go. Okay. Hi. Welcome to this panel. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having me, Blurring the Lines, Paris College of Art and International Center of Photography, Italy. In this panel, we're going to talk about reciprocity and cultural context. I'll introduce myself shortly first. My name is Jonna Bruinsma. 2 years ago, I graduated from the HKU University of Arts with my project Dragone, and also became a finalist of the Blurring the Lines 2019 edition with this project. Dragone is about a large family living in the historical center of Bari in Puglia, in the south of Italy. And in this project, I followed the lives of the members of a large family and decided to focus on the 3 young brothers. Here I visually address the challenges between deeply rooted family traditions, cultural conventions, and the effect this has on a young generation that grows up in between these changes. I've always had a keen interest in daily life in the south of Italy and the way traditional lifestyles are challenged by migration, immigration, and the stark demographic contrast between young and old have been addressed by me in earlier photographic projects. For me, reciprocity and cultural context is a very interesting topic to talk about because I'm personally always very much aware of this when I'm working on my projects. I attach great importance to reciprocity. And this means for me that I acknowledge the importance of give and take with my subject. Now I'm very looking forward to discuss this topic with all of you during this panel. I want to ask all of you to introduce yourself short, tell something about who you are, where you're from, and about your project. And after, I want to ask you, what does reciprocity means for you? So, Assaf, you can start if you want.
Sure. Hello, my name is Assaf Hinden. I'm originally from Tel Aviv and I'm currently based in Belgium and in Israel. I graduated from my bachelor's in the Bezalel Academy in Jerusalem. And I understand we have another person here from Bezalel. And I recently obtained my master's from the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, Belgium. Very briefly, I can say about my work that, it usually involves different backstories or historical events, which I intervene and comment on with my work. It's not bound to a specific technique. It's not direct photography. It's a lot of time working with archival materials, found footage, collages, different techniques. But at the end of the day, its aim is to create these different dialogues between the past and the present, and between facts and speculations. That's about it.
Thank you. Alexander, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Alex Habich, and I'm from Germany. I recently graduated in Hamburg from the University of Applied Sciences Europe. Yeah, and in my work, I'm focusing somewhat about the question, what is humanity? What makes humanity human? And try to explore humanity from an outsider's point of view as much as possible. And with topics like fear, or most recently, storytelling, which also was my graduate project, focused about archetypes and storytelling, how they're used over the centuries. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. So, Saya, is this pronounced? Do I pronounce your name right?
My name is Saja.
Sasha. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Sasha, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, I am Saja Kutina. I completed this year my.
I cannot see you, by the way. Your video is maybe off, or.
Maybe the internet is.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I completed my BFA in Bezalel Academy in Jerusalem. I studied photography, and my project was about like the public space in, for example, in Jerusalem and in neighborhood around, surrounded by Jerusalem. And the main idea was to talk about the public and the political and social situation in this era. It was like more about to show the complex between the political system and the social system, because it's kind of different words and it came in the same place, and it makes like different view for the public space. And it took and about it was like how the place looks like it's kind of temporary, but it's something we always see the same, and it's not like just about
Okay.
Yeah.
You?
Mm-hmm.
Mark, do you want to introduce?
Hey, my name is Mark McGuinness. I'm a photographer from Dublin, Ireland. And last year I graduated with my master's degree from Aalto University in Helsinki, Finland. The project that I worked on there for my master's was called Slowly Westward. And it's about the mapping of Ireland. It was a test site for kind of the modern cartographic system that the world uses. But the problem was that Ireland was colonized at the time. So there's this whole thing about, I guess, the cultural context surrounding how those maps are interpreted and the power balance between who makes them and defines land and the people that may have or lived at those points, and how that changed the kind of contemporary state of the country that we live in now.
Okay. And Ranji is not here, I think, but then we will continue. So I want to start with my first question for you. What does reciprocity mean for you, and is it important when you're working on your project? We can just start in the same as we did with the introduction. So Assaf, you can start.
Yeah, for me, like if we're thinking about the ethical shift in photography, I would say that it is more, I would say it's like a ping pong, like the relations between what the image original purpose was, like the photographer's original purposes, and how it meets the audience. Like there's like a battle of relations between the photographer and his original intention and the viewer, what he takes from the image, what kind of ethical questions he can arises from the image. So I would say that it's, like, as I said, like a ping pong, like they both need each other. And that it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's your opinion about this, Alexander?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different kinds of reciprocities. And if I think about how I work and in photography, maybe in general, and on the one hand, of course, between me and my subject, on the other hand, between me and my audience on a greater scale at the point where the project might be finished or displayed. And I mean, you are constantly talking to different people while working on a project. So that's this kind of exchange. And I think it's I can really relate to the word ping pong, Assaf, that you work with, because that's how it feels to me. If I'm working on a subject, it's constantly ping pong between my topic and my aesthetics. Both I try not to favor one of them. I try to that one of them is implies something greater for the other one. So I think that's maybe for me the greatest or the most important reciprocity in my personal work as a photographer, and not as the outside viewer.
Yeah. Okay. Satya, do you want to say something about it? Or maybe Mark first? I don't know.
Sure. Assaf, I think you summed it up really well there. I'm not sure what else I can add to that apart from maybe like in personal context. I would like to think that, that conversation or game of ping pong is going on in my work. Maybe it hasn't always been, but it's definitely something going forward that I think if you're not having that conversation with yourself, then I don't know what you're doing. You need to.
Yeah, that's true. But I think there are a lot of artists out there who are not very much aware of this. And that it's becoming increasingly important to be aware of this even more in these days. So I don't know. I think when I started photography, doing photography projects, I was not so much aware of this as I am now. So I think it's also a process as a maker. So I want to go to the questions of this panel. Since its invention, photography has been a decisive factor in gestating and deploying a new way of observing, representing, and understanding reality, and with it ourselves. Does the ethical value of an image ever contribute to its aesthetic value? What do you think about that, Assaf?
I would say that, of course, the ethical value is critical. I think that in our times when everyone is photographers, in some ways, everybody publish their photography, they share it online. And it's really important to make this kind of separation between images that are ethically charged or engaged and images that are purely about appearance and aesthetics, So I'm sure that you can always find ethically engaged questions in any image if you look close enough, of course. But, from the very simple assumption that photography is the most direct medium that responds to reality. So you automatically, as a photographer, you automatically work with something that already exists in reality, that has historical elements to it, social, political ones, everything. So you're automatically engaged with ethical questions if you're interested in doing that or not.
Yeah.
So the ethical elements will be shown in the aesthetic sphere. If you look close enough, who is the audience? It's about the audience, it's about the platform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the aesthetic, like the ethical value makes an image more interesting because of the aesthetics?
Because of the ethical values. I would say I'm saying that it adds different layers to the work, and it will be shown on an aesthetic level, again, if the viewer is interested enough to find it.
Yeah.
And where does the viewer encounter the image is very important. If it's in social media, it can very simplify it, for instance. But if it's in a, in a gallery that is like non-profit gallery organization, you will automatically, like the image can be charged with more ethical questions or critically engaged ones, So there's a lot of elements.
So it's also about the platform where the images are showed.
Yeah, specifically today.
saying a lot about the meaning of an image as well. Because sometimes when I'm seeing an exhibition and I'm just looking at the image, I can have a very different opinion after I have read the text about what it means. So that's always an interesting thing. I think first, if you're looking to art and new projects, which you don't know, then I always try to look first, like, what does it mean to me? And then I try to, I read the text, you know, and then it can have a totally different meaning. So that's also has something to do with the combination, like the relation of aesthetics and ethics, I think. And
the environment.
Sorry?
No, I'm saying like the environment for the encounter is very critical.
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to say some? I think we are with the four of us now, but that's okay. Do you want to say something about it, Mark?
Yeah, sure. That last point about the platform that you interact with work on, and it's kind of the, I guess, the ethical weight that work has based on the platform is really interesting, especially in a time when, I don't know what countries everyone is in, but I haven't been able to go to galleries for quite some time. You know, so my interaction with work has mostly been based on like the digital platforms. And I do find myself like just breezing past so many images because it's just quick and it's fast to consume.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, maybe it's something that we have to change, or something that will change as time progresses, and, you know, the weight of work and its ethical value will hopefully increase on newer platforms. You know, I don't know if I agree that I have to go to a gallery to feel something, you know, like, shouldn't I be able to have that? You know, I should be able to understand the ethical value of work no matter what the platform is, but we're still kind of in this older system where, for better or for worse, I do attribute weight to prints on walls rather than little tiles on screens.
Yeah. That's an interesting, yeah, that's true. But I think there will be a shift, like in a couple of years, right? With this, as you can see, the meta world is going to, sorry, the meta, I don't know how to pronounce, but maybe in 10 years, all the art will be online and you can create your own gallery, right?
Yeah, I think it's already happened in a little way. I actually just have a book here that I picked up during the week, Matt Black's American Geography.
Yeah.
And that work was actually posted as was being made online 4 or 5 years ago. And that was, for me, one of the first ones where I was like, this work is extremely powerful, and, you know, it's searing like social commentary. But also I was seeing it as was happening, like before the work was like finished or was embodied in a book or on a print space. So yeah, I don't know, maybe there'll be a shift more towards this ongoing publication of work before it reaches its final heavyweight form.
Yeah, it will open a lot of new doors, I think. Yeah. And Alexander, do you have something else to say about this, or?
Yeah, I can agree on that. I think that art in general, not just photography, is going more towards the online, and that I think the platform on which art is shared is changing. I can completely agree there. Yeah, and I mean, of course, in some way, aesthetical values do contribute to its aesthetics. I think we can agree on that. Maybe, but I think what is important here is the context in where art is produced and where it's shown. I mean, if a certain person creates art in a certain country and it's shown in the same year in that country, the context matches kind of up. But if you take a look at photography which was made maybe 100 or 200 years ago, then we have, and it's shown in a completely different context, then we have a different view on it. And I think then we as viewers need to understand the context in which the art was created originally. And also as a photographer, I mean, for me, the aesthetic, well, maybe the aesthetic value is the wrong word here, but let's take it, is kind of the guideline for how I want create, or maybe how I want to have my work viewed. But we all know that this does not match perfectly every time. So I think there's a certain gap between our intention and what we take, what values we want to embrace, and what are viewed in the work later.
Yeah. All right. Does someone else wants to say about this something, or? Okay, I'm going to the question. For me, like the question, how do understanding the community's aesthetic and cultural structures relate to the moral values of an image or a project? For me personal, I am a documentary photographer, so I work on a long-term project about people who I follow for more than years. So for me, it's very important to gain a lot of trust and take a lot of time to get to know these cultures, because otherwise I feel like someone who is not, I'm from the Netherlands and I make work in Italy, so I'm aware of the fact that I'm not from the country where I make work. So I want to be sure that I do a lot of research and take a lot of time to get to know these people and their culture and their norms and values before making a project about them. So for me, that's, I think, something which has to do with something with this question. How do you guys think about this for your projects? How do you, like Mark, what's your opinion about this?
Well, this has been a question, I guess, that's been in my own head for the last 2 years since I really started that last project for my master's. Mm-hmm. It was the first time that I'd photographed in Ireland or at home. So I kind of threw out those concerns because I was like, this is where I'm from.
Yeah,
I know these people. This is, my home, so I can do this. And what I realized is that those concerns, it doesn't matter. Like that they're always there. Like, yeah. Even if I photograph in another part of Ireland, those questions of representation are still there. It doesn't matter that we speak the same language or that we come from, the same society. Like, there's always that issue of representing people and like being like some kind of voyeur and, peering into their lives and misconstruing what.
Did they understand? Because I know you were also making portraits, making work about people, did they understand why you were there and what you were doing? Or there's not that many people in that body of work, but the ones that are there, it was quite a slow process to photograph people in that work. That was a really slow project for me. So no, they always knew what was going on. And, I wouldn't include people's work if they didn't really want to be in it. But it was an interesting experience to do that. And that was like a real big turning point for me in my work, because I think I know that the next work that I'm doing is also going to be here. And it's, I've not given up, but I'm more concerned now with what's happening here and things that I know rather than peering into other people's lives. Yeah. All right. Assaf, do you want to say something about this?
I'm not sure I have anything to add. And just I listened to what she said, and I found it to be very relevant, not only to documentary approach, but to any element that you're working with, like conceptual ones, or like if it's related to reality or if it's a fictionist element. There is something about the importance of understanding the origin of things in order to respond to it is one of the most basic important things with approaching any project, not only photography.
Yeah, and also to give something back, like to talk about reciprocity again. So to give something back to people or subject you're following, or the theme where it's about? Do you think that's important as well?
Yeah, I completely do. Like in my earlier works, I guess it was more involved with aesthetics, and you're photographing things that were visually pleasing or were easy photographs to make or to experience. But now it's if it doesn't have some kind of ethical, societal weight, then I don't really see the point in it.
Okay, Alexander, do you want to?
Yeah, my work is not documentary, so my point of view might be maybe on the other side of the scale to you, Joanna. Especially if I'm thinking about my graduate work, I worked a lot with fictive figures and with storytelling. So I kind of worked with something humans already worked on. So there's some kind of middle gap in there. Can you follow me? Between me and society. So I base my work on literature, and literature was produced somewhere before. So there is this kind of middle ground, this kind of way I need to work around. And I think this was also very interesting, and I can relate, Mark, to what you said about the change in photography. It was kind of the same with me. You start with aesthetics and focus too much. Maybe for me it was too much on aesthetics and at an early stage, and then you constantly learn to trust yourself that you can make something aesthetical with an aesthetical approach out of something which was not focused on aesthetics in the first place. And this for me was kind of the turning point, and then you can really start to dive into your topics and to focus more on those cultural foundations. And this for me was, I think, in my photography was maybe the most important turning point.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. So, I want to go to the next question. To what extent are photographers responsible for the reaction their work receives? I think for me, I think a photographer is responsible for their work because it already exists, what you are making photos of or making work of, but you're bringing it into the world in a different way. So it's a new way of showing it, and then the reaction is in a way your responsibility. What do you think about this, Mark?
This is quite a tricky question. I'm not sure if I agree that photographers are responsible for the reaction their work receives, because nowadays work can be instantaneously seen by millions of people, that even if you provide all the cultural context with your work, people are just going to always see it different. Different people are not going to experience it the same way or have the same kind of cultural associations with certain images that maybe I would have had. So I think there's always, you're never going to be able to please everybody. And if you are able to please everybody, something very weird is happening, So I'm not sure if photographers are responsible for the reaction they receive, but I'm sure that there is a responsibility to work ethically and to provide a clear cultural context to your work. And I think as long as the individual, the creator or the photographer or artist can stand behind their work 100%, then that criticism is just always going to be there, and it has to be something that you're willing to engage with. That is, I guess, why you do this, is to start conversations.
That's true. No, I was not I don't think they're fully responsible for the reactions, but it's just there is some responsibility, of course, but totally. That has a lot to do with the meaning of the images and how you want to like show your images. But it's a very interesting and tricky question, I think, as well. So do you want to say, what do you think, Assaf?
Well, I agree that photographers are not responsible for the reaction, but they are responsible to know what reactions can come from their work, you know. Again, like we said, and you said it as well, photographers deal with things that are in reality, not like other mediums, and they have to, in my opinion, maybe it's a bit, I don't know, too rough or something, but in my opinion, there is no room for naive approach when you're dealing with, with things that already has a function in the world, already has a role, you know. So they're not responsible for the reaction, but they are responsible to be critically engaged with what they're showing, not what they're photographing. But at the moment that you show a work, you have to understand what are the implications of that. But as well, like I think that photographers, unlike other mediums, they have, because they are responding to things that already exist, in some ways they are also curators in a sense, you know. And as a curator, again, in my point of view, you have to be aware of how things that you collect and recompose, what is the outcome of this.
Yeah, so I think it's also, there's a lot of, then I think the process is very important, right? It's like one of the most important things in a project, and the research. So I think if you're not doing your research, if you're not doing good research for a project, then you're more responsible if the reaction is negative. Because if your research is not like, you didn't pay attention or a lot of attention to the research. Do you agree, or do you think?
I don't think that there's always have to be this research behind it or theory behind it. It can be any process, in my opinion. But at the moment that you exhibit it in some ways, publish it, you're responsible to know the possible implications of that situation. It's not supposed to affect the process of making the project, but what do you show? How do you show it? Even if we go back to aesthetical issues that I know it's funny to talk about aesthetics sometimes. It feels like something superficial, you know, appearance, but you know, it really depends even on the scale that you show it. You print if you print it large or if you print it small, you automatically control this encounter, you know.
But in your own project, like, did you had a lot of different reactions and also maybe negative reactions, or how do you deal with that?
Negative reactions, not to my face, maybe behind it. No, I'm kidding. But I think that
critical reactions, you know, like,
of course,
it's a complex subject. It's something which is maybe vulnerable for people, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, because I don't know if we mentioned it, but I will say very shortly that the graduation project corresponds with an historical event in Nazi Germany, where they did a forced art auction. Like they looted art, they stole a collection and they auctioned it. And I kind of corresponded with this story and with the artworks that are missing and all of that. But because and the collection was owned by, the owner was a Jewish collector. So because I am Jewish, and my family was affected by World War II, like everybody, but the Holocaust and everything. So I had this kind of freedom almost to open those Pandora box and to play with them, that I'm not sure other photographers from different origins would have had this kind of freedom.
That's what I wanted to ask, like, because I saw this project and I thought, like, I was not sure if you were, I thought you were Jewish, but do you think a person who is not Jewish can do the same? You know, I think that's an ethical thing, which is very important to.
For sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it kind of brings me back to your earlier question about the reaction, if we're responsible for it.
Yeah.
So I am responsible to understand, okay, it can be hurtful, I don't know, for Germans, let's say, I'm just saying, or other people. So I know what is the power of the things that I'm dealing with. But at the end of the day, you don't want to force a position on the viewer, right? Like you want the viewer to interact or question things. You don't want to explain something.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It's
also interesting when a project causes a discussion or reactions, and like that you can talk about it even more, right?
Yeah.
And very interesting project, by the way. So, Alexander, do you want to say something about this? Like what were the reactions on your work, and how did you deal with that? And what do you think about the reactions?
Yeah, I think you are absolutely, in my opinion, responsible to your work, but not to the reactions your work receives. And I think for me personally, this is something I want to free myself from. There was a time where I didn't do this, and I felt that is, kind of pressure, maybe that's the wrong word, but the responsibility to be responsible to what your work receives, you cannot control this to 100%, not even to maybe 10%, I think, because, and I think if you try to, you are in this kind of fallen into this trap where you want to try to force something on the viewer. So personally, I want to make myself free from that. And I mean, maybe you receive in the making of a project some kind of critic where you or just reactions where you understand that your intention was not translated at all, or not how you wanted, and that you might take as an approach to work on your project and to maybe shift your direction. But apart from that, I want to personally make myself free from that and feel responsible for the work I do and not responsible for the reactions.
Yeah,
so I did receive reactions. Most of them are positive, but that's not, maybe all of them are positive. I don't know. But I think if that's kind of the problem, isn't it? I mean, in social media, you did very rarely get the negative reactions in your face. So there's kind of a force, not a distorted reality, which is put on you. And I'm not sure. I mean, most of the reactions I probably receive, and then all right, thanks, and then I forgot it, because again, I'm not responsible for this, and I want to free myself from this, because I think I'm the person who is most critical about my own work, and I wanted to stay like this. So
okay, good, thank you. We have another 5 minutes, so Mark, do you want to say something about this? What do you think about the reactions?
No, I went first in this question, I guess, after adding on to the end of that.
That's
that was a good one. There was a lot more added to that than I thought.
Yeah, I think so. It's a very interesting discussion. To what extent?
Assaf, what you were saying about certain, maybe this is like just rephrasing it, but that certain projects or topics are open to certain people from certain, you know, backgrounds. Like I know that in my own work that has happened to me, because the mapping process in Ireland, like there's been a number of photographic projects made about it, but some are made by people that come from parts of the UK or England or Great Britain, that, or I've seen American projects made about it that reframe it in a totally different context to how I view it as an Irish person from here, you know, being someone whose language was, you know, almost completely destroyed by this translation during a mapping process. I'm really on the fence about that. I don't know how I feel. Obviously there's certain, like, there's projects I would never touch that I feel are nothing to do with me, that aren't my concern, or I don't have a right to go near. But I think it's also good that it raises questions when I do see these other projects about the same topic that I studied, because I just see different perspectives on the same thing that I would never, ever have understood. I wouldn't even think that someone could think like that, you know, the way that I would think about a topic. So I'm kind of torn about that, where I'm like, maybe it's always good to have more voices, like that just adds to the conversation. But then obviously there's probably a line where it crosses into plagiarism or insensitivity, or just like, you know, commercialization. I don't know. That's my response to responses.
Yeah, I think like if a lot of makers are working on one subject or doing a project about one theme, then it's true that you get different perspectives. And if only one person does that, or two, then you do not get that. But yeah, no, it's an interesting add to this. All right. So someone else wants to say something about the ethical shifts in photography, or are we done? It's like there are supposed to be 5 people, so it's a bit smaller than I hope. But yeah, I like this conversation with you, and hope to meet you in real life, maybe next year in Venice. Yeah, then I will wrap up. Thank you so much for being here, and have a good day, you all.
Thank you very much.
I don't think there are questions, right? Are there? No. Okay. Let me check. Just check for 1 second if there are questions. No. All right. Okay. Have a good day, you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.